All right, let's go ahead and do this. Thank you all very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Reed. I'm the editor of the PW Perspective, and you can find us at www.pwperspective.com. And joining me tonight is Miss Virginia 2020, Katelyn Page, and she's going to talk a bit about not tonight about her deployment with the American Red Cross during her time in Louisiana to support families and victims of those of Hurricane Laura. So, Katelyn, thank you so much again for joining us. How are you tonight?
I'm doing so great. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. I'm really excited to talk about my experience, and I really hope that everyone can take something from it. So thank you so much for letting me do this.
Absolutely. And so let's go ahead and get right into it. So let's talk a bit about what went into the plan for deployment once you saw what was going on and some of the devastation that took place. Can you just share with our viewers what went into the process of getting you deployed to go travel from Virginia down to Louisiana?
Yeah, so I serve the American Red Cross as a disaster cycle caseworker. And so I'm already set up with their disaster unit. So they basically messaged me and they said, we need everyone who is available to go down and help ASAP. And so they sent me that, I think, the night of the 31st. And then by the morning of the 1st, I was literally in an airplane. And so I really had no time at all to even digest it. All I knew is I had to help. I had to do something, and I wanted to do anything. I told them anything I can do, just put me there and I'll do it. So the biggest thing for me was I knew there was a possibility that I would be without water and without electricity. And so in the few hours that I had, I really focused on getting clothes that would last me a while. So like flowy, baggy clothes that I didn't want to keep. And then also like essentials, like personal hygiene products, like deodorant, and I didn't even bring shampoo because I didn't even know if I could use it. And so my biggest thing was making sure I had as little as possible to last me as long as possible. And I think the most important thing I want to mention is getting into the right headspace, because the things that you do down there, it's so far from the everyday life. And so it really does take a big adjustment period. But I knew that I really didn't have time to do that. I just had to go and be there right away. And so I had to prepare myself for that, but absolutely worth it.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, Caitlin, because I think sometimes when people, what we just don't think about is when someone has to get deployed into a situation like that, and to help with disaster relief is the preparation that goes into it, and the mental preparation, and knowing that okay, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I need to make sure that that hey, these are the things I need to take care of my body and my mind, so when I go down there, I don't know what kind of environment I'm going to go into. So did they ever talk to you or brief you on, hey, here are the conditions prior to you going down there?
Yeah, they did. So they told me that there was a chance I would be like standing in water up to my knees. I would have no electricity, no heat or air conditioner. They even told me there was a chance I wouldn't even have food available to me constantly. And so like one thing that I did for that was I packed 2 cases of protein shakes in my bag. Because
Absolutely.
I was like,
get that more invested.
Yes.
And so you talk about that as far as, like I say, you knew what you had to take with you and get yourself, knowing that, okay, this is going to be enough to last me through the day. And now knowing what you had to deal with, can you talk about when you were on the plane and looking out into the area and saying, what did you see when you began to touch down?
As soon as I touched down, I was sent to the American Red Cross shelter. So that was for employees. And as soon as I got there, I just told them, anywhere you need me, just put me. And it was it was a big adjustment period because there was a lot of people from all over the country and they're so excited to help. And to be honest, I was probably one of the youngest people there. And so that also added on an extra challenge because, automatically whenever young people come into such a big disaster, they're like, can they really do this? And I believe as long as you are there, you're doing absolutely everything you can.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome and incredible because, I know we've spoken before in previous interviews and we always allude to just the many things you've accomplished in your life already at such a young age. Well, okay, I have to ask you this then, coming down when, and knowing that you were one of the youngest people down there, was there ever a sense of feeling like, okay, how am I going to fit in here? How am I going to do I belong in this environment? Was there ever that sense of, the ageism or anything of that nature? Did you experience that?
I wouldn't say there was complete ageism going on, but I would definitely say that there was a clear difference between people of different ages. But all I kept going through in my mind is, I'm not here for that. I'm here to help survivors. And you can't really be thinking about yourself in these moments. Your entire focus and your entire being has to be on these survivors. And so I was literally in the shelter that night after I landed. And then the next morning, I think at 5 a.m., I left to go to the shelter I would be at for the rest of my deployment. And so there was a little bit of an adjustment, but I just got through it by thinking, this is what I'm here to do. I'm not here to focus on me. I'm here to focus on everyone else.
That's beautiful. And I know how you talked about, being able to just be able to concentrate on the mission itself. And that is what's most important for those who are watching. We're joined live by Miss Virginia 2020, Miss Katelyn Page. So Katelyn, can you talk a little about some of the things that you had to do? I mean, if you could describe what went on an average day. They said you got up at 5 o'clock a.m. in the morning and there for the rest of your time deployment. So what went on a basic day there?
Yeah, so on a basic day, so let me explain what the shelter was like before I dive in so it can all make more sense. So basically, we were staying in a hotel because of COVID-19. We could not put everybody in a normal shelter because we didn't want to risk them getting COVID between each other. And so we were stationed kind of like in the lobby. And so what we would do is we would hand out 3 meals a day. We would connect them with emotional and spiritual health resources if they needed that. And then we also had medics on site who would be able to help them with any immediate medical needs. And there was so many of that. So I would say we were handing out food and we were helping with medical needs. And those were the 2 biggest things. But also we had to remember every moment that these people had just undergone one of the worst traumas they'll probably ever experience. And so a lot of days I would be there just sitting with them and letting them say anything to me that they could get off their chest. And that was a really great part, I think, because I was able to build relationships with people and kind of make them smile when they thought it wasn't even possible. And so that's probably my favorite part about the whole thing.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I'm glad you brought that up because when you talk about the emotional toll that it took on these families, and for people like yourself, who come selflessly to come down and help other individuals, a lot of times we look to the supplies and, we look to the need to want to fill their physical needs, but not their emotional needs. And so what was that like? And I don't know if maybe if you can share any stories of, when people, sharing their emotional experiences, but what was it like just hearing, what they were going through and, how you were able to, be able to console them?
Yeah, so there were highs and there were lows. We had one family there that really will stick with me the rest of my life. And it was 3 generations of one family. And it was very difficult because they had lost their family home. It was completely destroyed after years and years and years. And so they would always tell us the highlight of our day is coming down and seeing you, because we'd always make jokes with them. We'd always make them smile. And they would say, because for those few moments, we can take our minds off of what we have to return to. And we were able actually to help them get set up with like food stamps and resources in DCFS so that they can get back to what they called home and whatever that looks like for them. And my high was, without going into too much details, one of our families that was staying actually had a baby right as the hurricane hit. Oh. And so what happened was they were not able to return back to their home. And the dad just came in and talked to me, and he was so distraught. He was just crying, and he said, I cannot believe that my baby has nothing to return home to, and that we have to bring a baby to a hotel, basically, to a shelter. And I just looked at him and I said, your home was not destroyed because your family is your home. And I'm trying not to cry. It was the most moving experience. And so after I was able to talk to him about that, he actually came when they brought the baby to the shelter, and I got to meet that baby. And it was just so emotional and so incredible that these people are able to find light even in some of the darkest situations, and they will always inspire me.
Oh, that's so beautiful, and thankfully you were there to just be able to, like you said, just be that shining light to them at times they're needed. Because it's important to have the food, the water, and the genetic products to be able to survive, but most importantly, that emotional support as well. And also, I want to talk with you as well on behalf of those like yourself who went down and were deployed to go and help. I mean, did you receive a lot of emotional support to keep you going? Because I can't imagine that's not an easy thing to do for the length you were there.
Yeah, so I am very thankful to the American Red Cross because they would constantly check on us and say, if you guys need an ear, if you guys want some spiritual support, they would always, always have those resources available to us. And not only for people that were in the shelter, but for us as well. They would always have counselors and mental health professionals and priests come through almost every day and just talk to people. But I have to say, my biggest support were my teammates who were there with me every day. And they're probably some of my best friends now. And I'm so grateful that we were able to go through that together.
Oh, that's wonderful. And for those who are watching, once again, we have Miss Virginia in 2020. It's Katelyn Page joining us. And I'm glad you brought that up because, like I said, being able to have that network of support and friendships that you gain from this and just the camaraderie that it takes, especially in an environment like that. And especially now in the world we live in with the pandemic. Can you talk a little bit about some of the precautions, more about some of the precautions that were taken during this time, even in Louisiana, with the pandemic? What do they recommend for you all in order to do your daily task?
So every day we followed the CDC guidelines. But one of the biggest things is we made sure to practice social distancing. That looked like so many different things, but that was always on the forefront of our minds. And we made sure that everybody staying there had a mask and had hand sanitizers. So we would actually be able to give those to them every single day because a lot of people would just say, hey, I just got in my car and I have nothing. And so being able to give them masks, and we would give out gloves as well, and hygiene products. And so the big thing for us, though, was always making sure everything was sterile, everything was safe and clean, because, again, they had lost so much. The last thing we wanted to do is make them sick. We just knew that everyone had undergone a really difficult experience. So as you mentioned, we were thinking about COVID-19 and their health, but we're also really considering their mental health and their emotional health as well, because they go so hand in hand.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for sharing that because, and I can't imagine what it's like, even for those families as, and for the workers themselves, for all over the medical field and those who are taking time to help and they're experiencing it, but at the same time, you still have to be cautious. And I know there may have been those times where you're talking with families and you may, be able to just sit there and encourage them, but at the same time, practice social distancing. And sometimes that can be a little challenging to do that. And so, and during your deployment, and you were able to see, like I said, with the shelter and not knowing if you're going to have access to electricity and some of these supplies, and what was overall as were you able to go out past the shelter to other parts of the area and see how they were functioning as well?
Yeah, so we were one out of 29 shelters down there. And so, yeah, there was a lot, but we had 50 families in our shelter, and that's because of social distancing. We couldn't have any more than that. But I was always able to, because I'd have to come and go a lot. And so, like in the morning and at nighttime, I'd have to leave. And so I was able to see a bit of the city and what it was really doing to everybody. And, I used to live down in the South. And so I've been to New Orleans quite a few times. And it wasn't the same. I say the entire city really took a hit, and not just in its appearance, but in its soul.
It's interesting. And like I said, being from the South myself and being an opportunity to visit an area in the past, a lot of people don't think about just what the people of Louisiana and the Gulf Coast in general, for those who may know Mississippi, Alabama, and parts of Pensacola, Florida, and what those areas experience during times of natural disasters. And so, and being able to watch what took place there in the French Quarter, what was going through your mind as you saw New Orleans, and and especially what happened with Katrina, 15 something years ago, and seeing it now, what went through your mind as you saw some of the damage that took place?
Yeah, so my family was impacted by Hurricane Katrina, and so that's one of the reasons why this was so important to me.
Mhm.
I would say the buildings, the trees, everything else, it was absolutely horrific and heartbreaking to even think about, and especially to see. The biggest thing to me, though, was, as I mentioned, especially as my family had something similar happen to it, it was seeing the impact it had on the people and on the families. And, I would always tell them these things can be replaced and these things can be fixed, but something that can never be is your family members and your loved ones.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. Absolutely, that's a beautiful statement, Caitlin. And as you talked about the soul earlier, and that's such a great point. And it's always hear stories of the hurricane coming can damage houses, it can damage stores and the schools and buildings, but the soul of the city, the soul of the culture is never going to go away. They're going to keep their music, they're going to keep dancing, and so
they are.
anyone who's ever been down there to the French Quarter knows on Bourbon Street knows that no hurricane is going to stop them from
Yes.
celebrating, because the people in New Orleans are overcomers, and people who've been in the Gulf, in the Delta, such as yourself, understand what that's like. And so I just want to share, just ask us one more question. And so you talked about some of the memories that you have with families
Yeah.
and friends that you develop. And so, what else would you take away? Was your big takeaway as that time was coming to an end and you had to get ready to come back to Virginia? Some of the things you took away, and maybe some lessons or things you learned from your time down there.
My biggest takeaway is I cannot wait to do this again. And I may sound crazy, but helping people is in my blood. And so I really cannot wait for my next opportunity to serve with this incredible organization. I also took away that I want more people to do this, and I really want to see more diversity here. I don't want to just see one population. I want to see so many different ones, because the experience, it is truly life-changing. And so I knew as soon as I was done, I said, I want to help more people get involved with work like this. And another big takeaway is how strong and how incredible and how resilient people are. And I'm so proud of the entire Gulf Coast for coming together, especially, and making it through this.
Absolutely. And let me just add, no, it's never anything crazy about wanting to help people, because that's who you are. Like you said, it's in your DNA, it's in your blood. It's talk with your mother and yourself, and how she brought you up to be that selfless individual. And we wish more people were just like that. If the world had more people like you, your mother, people who just give of themselves, the world will be a much better place. And so, pray that this will be to inspire more people to say, hey, I got to do something. I may not be able to travel, but I can help wherever way I can. And so, you hit on an interesting point, diversity. And like you said, we're going to talk about some of the events that are coming up for you, and what can we do to encourage more diversity when it comes to helping people in disaster relief, or just in any event that can help save a life.
I think the biggest thing is we need to make the opportunities more available to everybody and not just to a certain group of people. Mm-hmm. And we also need to let everybody know, as many people as we possibly can, you can do this right now. And it is so rewarding and so worth it. And personally, I would like to see so many more young people. I would like to see so many different diverse groups there helping people, because there's nothing in the world like it. There's nothing. And I also want to hit on a point that you said earlier, is how to get involved. For me, I would say get involved locally, because nobody expects your first time getting involved for you to travel across the country. But I would definitely say that you can get involved right now. You can get involved today. And that doesn't have to be anything massive. There are tons of opportunities that are online, and there's tons of opportunities that you probably wouldn't even imagine. There's so many diverse things that you can do. And so I would definitely say check that out. And a quick little shout out, if you do want to do those opportunities, you can go to redcross.org and you can just look at what's available.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for that, Kate. And we just close on this point. You figure you got a couple of events coming up yourself. Wednesday, I mean, it says you're for the American Red Cross Youth, and also the upcoming blood drive that will take place here for those who live in Prince William County, here in Manassas off of Holy Road. Could you just elaborate a few more on those events as well, please?
Yeah, so on Wednesday, I'm going to be taking over the American Red Cross social media. Youth social media. And that's Wednesday, the 23rd, and that's going to be an all-day event. And I don't want to give out any of my big surprises just yet, because it's going to be a lot of really fun things. But I'll just say it's going to be really exciting, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And you'll definitely see some in there about me getting ready for my big blood drive coming up. And so with that, I'll go ahead and talk about that. On Wednesday, October 7th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., we will be holding a blood drive here in Prince William County. And actually, the very first way that I got involved with activism, advocacy, volunteering, it was donating my blood at 15 years old. I donated before I was even allowed to without parental consent. And it's just addicting.
Talk about how you did that. Go ahead.
So I began college at 16 years old, and colleges, they always have blood drives, and
yes.
They're always like, guys, we'll give you some treats if you do this.
That's right, the Sprite and the cookies, that's right.
Yep.
I have a rectal.
Yep. So my very first semester, I told my mom, I said, Mom, I want to do this, but I need you to sign a waiver. And so my mom literally just signed my waiver. And then as soon as I donated, I actually found out that I have O negative blood. And so I knew right away, I said, you know what, I'm not just going to have O negative blood and not help people, because we all know that's the type that can really save people
yes.
in those last moments. And so since then, it's been an addiction, honestly. I can't stop volunteering. I can't stop donating. And sometimes I've even donated at Children's National Hospital for children who literally they're almost not going to make it. And then whenever you're able to give them that blood, it gives them a really good chance. And so I would definitely say donate blood, please, if you're able to, because you are a lifesaver. One donation can save 3 lives.
Absolutely. Wow, that's amazing. And as you stated, I used to give 4 times a year, and since I was 18 years old, and it's been one of the best things to be able to do is just give, so that someone else can see another day, and anything we can do to be a part of that. And would you mind on Wednesday, October 3rd, where that blood drive will be taking place in Manassas?
Yes, that will be at Mazir Mosque, and that's on Holy Road. I can tell you the address, and we can put it in the description. But it is in the area, and shout out to Mr. Rashid, who is currently a candidate. He really did help me make all this happen, and so I'm really excited. I think this is going to be a really good thing, especially given what's going on in our country. It's so needed.
Absolutely, and we'll be on there to to give blood and cover the event. So this is going to be exciting, but also looking forward to what you're going to do on Wednesday and some of the surprises. So everyone get a chance to check that out on Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday, that Miss Virginia 2020, Katelyn Page will be taking the American Red Cross Youth on IG Live. And so we are excited to have that. And please, if you live in the Prince William County area, please come out on Wednesday, October 3rd, to make sure to come out from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. to give blood for a great cause in a time such as this. So, Katelyn, again, as always, it's such a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much. Take time out of your very busy schedule, and I'll let you go get some rest now and get ready for week that's to come. But thank you once again.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor talking to you, and I really appreciate the work that you do.
And my pleasure. And thank you for the work that you do and what you do. And like to say, what you did for the people in Louisiana will last even long time, even after you're gone. So thank you once again, Katelyn, for everything. So I look forward to talking with you soon.
Thank you. I hope you have a great evening, and have a good night to everybody watching.
All right. You have a great night as well. It's my best to your family, and we'll be in touch. Everyone, this is John Reed from the PW Perspective, and you will be seeing this video coming out in our live edition tomorrow. Thank you all so much, and we look forward to talking to you all soon. Have a great evening.